Welcome to the fabulous Fempreneurship podcast series for entrepreneurs with your host, Elaine Slatter. Each episode addresses topics to help you and your business grow and succeed. Join us as we interview a variety of global experts.
Welcome, fabulous fempreneurs. We have another podcast today, and the topic is stop dieting and start listening to your body. And I don't know about you, but during COVID, it's been really bad. That walk to the fridge has been very popular in my household. So it's going to be interesting to find out how we have to listen to our body and do things differently. So my guest today is Amanda Gazzola, and she is an expert in this field. So welcome to the show, Amanda.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast, Elaine.
Oh, you're very welcome. And I'm excited to learn a little bit more about you. If you could tell us, how you got started in this business and what you do, that would be fantastic.
Oh, no problem. So pretty much I was a former busy bee. I worked 4 jobs pretty much for about 4 or 5 years. And in that, that's where I started finding myself. So I moved to Guelph in 2009, and my husband went to university here. And basically what ended up happening is I graduated from Sheridan College at that time, and that was when the recession was happening the recession was happening. And so a lot of people weren't, and I was going to school for advertising. And in that, it was so hard to get a job. And so I ended up being unemployed for quite a bit. And that took a toll on myself and my self-esteem. And basically what ended up happening is I was like, I need to do something. So I volunteered for a fitness competition. And in that, I had never been to one before. I thought I was just going to something where there was nutrition and all that kind of stuff. But what I found that there was bodybuilders and bikini models, and they had this orange tan. And I was like, whoa, this is such a different world than I had ever known. But the thing is, talking to all these amazing people is that their story, that had not always been them. So I saw what transformation really looked like. And in that, that's when I started hiring I hired a personal trainer who I played soccer with for many years. And she just took me down a lane that, really connected with, myself. She taught me about mind-body connection, which is why I want to talk definitely today about, stop dieting, start listening to your bodies, because your body is so smart and it tells you so many things that you don't even know because we're so busy. And for the longest time, I had been so busy not really understanding myself on a level and internally. And I was always frustrated. I was a reactor. Anything that didn't go my way, I thought that there was something wrong with me, that I should just get it, and that I'm not smart. I always really self-sabotaged myself. And so in that transformation, working with her is what started my whole trajectory on helping women of what I do today. I'm known as the Energy Bunny. I am a serial entrepreneur. I just wrote a book, Finally a Diet That Works for Me, because I want to share, the last 10 years of what my life has really, looked like. I went from diet to diet, even though she helped me get to my goal. I took it to so many levels because I wanted more and more, and I stopped listening to my body again. And so I want to share, because sometimes when you do something, too much of something is not good. And you can take it to extreme, which I did. But I think for me, I need to learn and connect the dots in order to just figure out, who I am and what works for me, because what works for me is not going to work for the next person. But I could definitely lead the way in showing signs, signals, tools, resources for them to get to where they need to be.
Oh, that's fantastic. We definitely all need those tools and resources. So let's get started then. And you have created a company called Love and Rise Coaching and Consulting out of your own experience, correct?
Yes.
So we've found out a little bit about yourself and how you got into this whole industry. So body image, that's something we all struggle with. So what are women currently facing on a daily basis that triggers their brains into thinking my body isn't good enough? Because that is definitely something we all struggle with.
Definitely. And I feel that, especially, we're in such a time right now that we're struggling with body image even more because, we feel trapped. We feel trapped because we can't do the things that we used to do. We're homebound more. We're homebound with our kids. We can't, the gyms are like opening and closing left, right, and center all in front of us. And so body image is definitely something that plays and triggers with us of how we feel and how we show up and how we, start our day, how we finish our day. And what I can say to you is that, from personal experience, it's a journey. Like, it's something that you continuously will have to work on. Just because, you've lost some weight, you're always going to somehow, figure out, like, you're going to somehow get yourself into like, oh, I need to be better. I need to be better, because like, it's a journey. We lose the weight, and it's not saying that body image goes away. We start seeing ourselves in a different light. And it's something that we continuously, when we're looking in the mirror, we have to work on. And it's not saying, you have to do affirmations every single day, but you do have to set yourself up with a routine. When you wake up in the morning, we tend to like feel like really sluggish, and we tend to feel really tired because, so let's say we didn't get a good sleep, or let's say our kids kept us up during the night, or let's say that, you didn't feel good when you're sleeping, you had a tummy ache. Either way you flip the coin, you're waking up and you're feeling, ugh. And that already sets the tone of like how you're going to look in the mirror and how you're going to see yourself. And from there, it's going to go and play into what you're going to start eating, because you already don't feel good. So body image is a process that we continuously have to work on. So I'm not saying that you have to wake up and just jump out of bed and say it's going to be a perfect day. But you do have control of how you can enhance your day. And it is playing, sometimes, I don't know, I like to say mind tricks with yourself, being like, let's start doing the opposite of what I normally do. What would life look like if I just, got out of bed and didn't and just said something good about myself, or read something that really inspired me. And then from there, like, it's about that feeling good and continuing, because that's the person that's going to continuously show up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. It does. So I was just thinking as you were talking, and that's so true that, like this morning, I felt very sluggish getting up. I don't know why. I actually went back to sleep for another 15 minutes. And, but for me today, my body said, you need a couple of glasses of ice water. That will energize you. So that's what I did. And I honestly, that made a huge difference in the way I felt. My body was telling me, I think, that I was dehydrated. So after 2 glasses of ice water, I felt a whole lot better.
There you go. And like, that's the thing, you're like, and silence sometimes in the morning is a good thing, like you can start connecting with yourself and connecting with like how you're feeling. For myself today, definitely, being in my early pregnant stages, I was up from 3:30 till 5:30. I was hungry, so I needed to have something to eat during the night. But the thing is, like, my sleep wasn't quality sleep like I would like. And I know my body's just getting me ready for what is going to be coming. But at the same time, in that, I definitely I went back to bed from 5:30 to 6:30, but in that I could take that energy and make it into something that's not going to be good for my day because of how I already feel. But this morning I had a training set, I had to train a client at 7. And so in that, I'm like, I have to show up for this client. So I had purpose, but it's like finding those little things and, what can I do to make myself feel better? Because, I didn't have the sleep that I wanted, but what can I do? Or I didn't have the energy that I wanted, but what can I do? It's like asking yourself good questions and answering those questions, and not allowing that feeling to take over that embody that you're feeling, because you could change that at the drop of the hat if you dig deep enough and you want it.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because you flipped the switch, I flipped the switch, right? So it shows you your mind over your body. You can control how you feel. It's all how you deal with it, and how, as you said, we could have both gone on into a complete funk today because we didn't get up feeling our best. Mm-hmm. But, you found a way. I found a way. I didn't even realize that I obviously found a way to give myself energy, right? Which I didn't have when I woke up. So mentally, it's all, how do you respond to the messages?
Exactly. And it's not going to be perfect, but it is, continuously kind of feeling like in your head, but auditing yourself. Like, did I do my best? Yes or no? Answer truthfully. And if you didn't, well, what can I do to do it better? And then, you know what you need to do tomorrow to make it even better. Like that, this is what, a lot of people around us, like mentors, like people like Tony Robbins, Gabrielle Bernstein, Mel Robbins, they do this on a continuous basis, but they're gotten so good at it that they could just snap into it like that. But at the beginning, it's sloppy. It's not perfect. It's it's up, it's down. You're all over the place with emotionally. But the thing is, showing up 1% better every single day is what's going to get you there. By the end of the year, that's 365 days better than you already were at the beginning of the year. And that's just 1%. So it's not saying you have to change your whole schedule and stuff like that, but you can start by just working on that one habit that you have noticed that's keeping you back from where you want to be.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right, because it takes a long time to form habits. You don't do it day one, because day one you're good. Maybe day two you're good, but by day three you could slip back. You know what I mean? Until it's really part of your lifestyle, it's not going to. You have to have it. You have to exercise the muscle. And then once it becomes a habit, it becomes part of your lifestyle.
Totally. Exactly. It's like training a muscle. That's why when I was working with my personal trainer and I had not known about, school, was really rough for me. I wasn't the smartest person in class. I definitely was not I was never chosen first or anything like that. So I always had such a bad self-image of myself, of how I saw myself. And so, signing up with a personal trainer, she saw potential in me more than I saw potential myself. And so sometimes you need that person that you admire, someone that you look up to help you see what they see. I believed in her a lot more than I believed in myself. And so I started believing in her. And then that belief started helping me to believe in myself, because again, I trusted her. I opened up I was vulnerable with her, stuff that I would never tell my friends or my family and stuff. I told her so many things, and I just felt like, I was in a safe place. And so sometimes, that person that believes in you, believe more than you believe in yourself, will help you to start changing that mindset, because you're going to start seeing yourself with that connection to your body a lot more. You're going to start seeing yourself. For me, it was progression through my workouts, where wow, I am so much better. I can do this and I couldn't do this before, for push-ups or for squats or for seeing weight loss or seeing yourself in the mirror a little bit different, or her complimenting me. Those are all confidence ego boosters that you need to get yourself out of those little ruts. And for me, I couldn't do it on my own. I actually needed help. But for the people that need to, want to work on their own and stuff like that, this is literally, you have to start, say, if someone says something to you, start by saying thank you. If they notice, oh, wow, you look beautiful today, say thank you, as opposed to oh, well, it's just that I got this shirt, it was on sale, or this is just oh, I've had this shirt for a long time, or these pants, don't, you start saying negative things. When someone compliments you, just finish it off by saying thank you and leave it at that, because you don't need to say anything else. You could just say thank you. That's hard itself. That's hard in itself, because we look for things to bring ourselves down back into this rut that we're in, because we feel like we don't deserve these compliments. You deserve these compliments. It just starts by saying thank you and just leave it at that.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Another guest on our podcast, Professor Meyer, talked about that. Women apologize way too much. They apologize for everything.
Hands up right now. Yes, we do.
and she said, men don't do that. No. They don't apologize. So,
if anything, you look for an apology half the time.
Yeah. They're looking for an apology, for you to apologize.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's so true. That is so true. We are very apologetic. And that's why I guess Rachel Hollis wrote the book, Stop Being So Apologetic, or something like along those lines, because it's true. And that we always feel like we have to come up with reasons and excuses and this and that. Like we always have to have a story behind everything. We can't just be like, show up and be like, nope, and just leave it at that. It's like that silence and being like, oh, but I feel bad.
Well, since she was on the show, my friends and I are all into what you've been saying, that when somebody compliments you, we don't apologize for that anymore. We just say exactly what you said. We say thank you. Because that's you're right. That's all you need to say.
I just wanted to talk a little bit more about that, because I feel like we're driving a really good point right now. And I spoke of this on a different podcast on Monday, and I just feel like this is really relative to where we're at right now, especially with body image, how we're feeling, how we're showing up, and so on and so on. So, one thing that I talked about just now with is saying thank you. I was a part of an organization that we had a class that was called Own Your Greatness. And one of the exercises, it was on the last day. This was a 3-day intensive course that we did. On the last day, what we had to do, there was about 60 people in my class, right? So we had about 30 people on each side, and we had the lights down dim. And you had to walk this line, and again, with each person on each side in the dark, and with the music on. And so the ambiance was I get goosebumps as I talk about this, because this was a powerful exercise. And so I've been working with some of these people I've known for 2 years, because we had a lot of the same courses and classes together. And so they got to know you, your business, who you are, what you stand for, and so on and so on. So when you're walking this line, you have your eyes closed and you're just going very slowly, and each person on each ear is whispering to you, saying something amazing about you, saying something like, Amanda, you have great energy. I love your smile. You show up and you just make the day much brighter. Like they're saying all these things that are attributed to you for the way that they see you when they see you on when at these classes that we do, or at this one time that we had this conversation, like you make people feel special, you're beautiful, your smile, your eyes just light up a room, like everything. And so it takes about 2 to 3 minutes, maybe 4. So, your eyes are closed and you're taking this in. You have tears running down your face because they're saying all these things, and you can't say anything back. You're just taking what they're saying in, and you're leaving it at that. And then when you're done your line, when you're done that part, you go into line, and again, you're given a tissue because you need it. But at the same time, you get to have this, you have this full breath, and it's just like holy shit, that was powerful. And you feel different. You feel different because you actually feel the sincerity and the generosity of their words lighting you up. And then that person, when you're done this course, you show up as a different person. You see things in a different way because, again, you've been given this gift of receiving. And that's one thing that I wanted to tell you guys, because I feel like, we're givers. Women are givers, right? But we have a hard time receiving. Receiving is just as important as giving. Receiving does not make you selfish. Receiving does not make you, look at people look at you in a different way. It's just as important, because we need to fill up our cup. And the only way to fill up our cup is to be able to receive as well as to give. When you give, you're draining yourself and you're not showing up as your best self. When you receive and you give and you're doing both, again, then, there's a different person. There's a different person that's going to show up that next day when they look at themselves in the mirror and they're like, Amanda, again, I'm just saying this as if someone was talking to themselves, Amanda, I love you. Amanda, you know how amazing you are. You are good enough. You are so strong. You are so brave. You are courageous. Like that person is going to show up in the mirror if you allow her to.
Yes. So is that how you coach a woman to overcome her body image? Is that kind of the process?
It's a part of the process. It's not the whole process, but I mean, when someone signs up with me, I go through a really intensive assessment, because I need to get to know them and they need to get to know me, and the way I need to meet them where they're at. And so an important thing when they're filling out this assessment is like, I need to know where they're at in their life and stuff like that. And so I can see what I need to give them, because each person is different that's coming to me. Yes, people are coming to me for weight loss in the end, but weight loss is the easy part. How people see themselves and how people show up and what people's daily routine are and what people's that is all different, and people treat it differently and people show up differently. And so the magic is in the making of what I just spoke about with you there, where, when I need to remind them continuously and be accountable to them and coach them through, this is what's going to happen. This is the next part. When you're when you're losing the weight, you're feeling good, but then it's like, what happens with the maintenance part, I can set you up for success, but what happens after the 3 to 6 months that I stop coaching you, you go back into your same way. I want someone to come up and leave differently than they came, and see themselves in a different light and receive and feel like, they could stand with their shoulders down as opposed to hunched to their ears because they're so easily agitated. I want them to feel, like the person that they see themselves, but I'd have a trouble getting there. It's like they're, Beyonce, for instance, she has her alter ego, right? She's Beyonce for sure. But when she first started, and she still sometimes does it, when she shows up on stage, she's Sasha Fierce. This person in the makeup, in the wardrobe, in the heels, and the shaking of her booty, and, really bringing that energy, that was Sasha Fierce. That wasn't Beyonce. And so she had to always continuously, when she put everything on, that is who she became. But that is and everyone thinks that's just a part of Beyonce, but that did end up becoming a part of Beyonce. But that's not how she had to build herself to that, so that she could show up every single time like that on stage. And it's it's just like the Oprah. Someone had to wear Oprah's shoes, because she was had no money. She was really having trouble with financially, and didn't have a job, and was barely making it. And so she took part of her money and bought Oprah's shoes that she was selling on auction, and just so that she could feel what it would like to live, to be like Oprah. And then in that, she started seeing herself differently when she put those shoes on. That person, even though they didn't fit her perfectly, she still started showing up differently, so she can get out of herself in that financial debt into feeling like a successful businesswoman. Sometimes we have to play with our minds, and it's a mind muscle connection in the end that's going to help you get out of your way.
Great. So what's your philosophy about training and nutrition?
Okay, so these are pretty big topics, but what I will say is that I believe in training. I believe in resistance training, weight training. I do not for many people think when they weight train, many women especially believe when they weight train or resistance train that they're going to get big. That is the last thing that's ever going to happen. I've been a bodybuilder. I've done this, and my biceps are still the same biceps that they were, the same inches that they were from when I first started 10 years ago to today. And so we don't have the same mechanics as a guy does. We don't have testosterone. We have different mechanics. So that is basically, if you're wanting and struggling to, figure out what is going on with you body wise, I would say add in resistance training, add in weight training, and work with that strength, build that strength up, because that is what's going to help you. And I have this in my quotations up, tone your body. That is what helps you to gain those great curves and, get into that shape that you've always desired. And nutrition, I'm a professional dieter. I have been a professional dieter for years. And for the past 4 years, I've definitely not been a dieter. I definitely figured out what works for me. And the only thing I can say with that is the only nutrition that will work for you is one that is sustainable. So following fad diets, that's not sustainable. Learning about whole foods, learning about your body cues, learning about your hunger tolerances, learning about, having that connection to understanding what your body needs in order to thrive is what's going to help you. So I don't know if you want me to speak more in regards to that, because I know we're definitely playing with time a little bit here, but, weight training, resistance, will definitely help you. And good nutrition, eating whole foods is what's going to help you. And of course, there's stuff in between that you need to figure out. Like for me, I had no idea about the intolerances that I had. I dieted down for competition for years, and I had no idea that I had a dairy allergy. And I would have protein powder all the time, whey protein, which is like milk-based protein. And so the only thing that would not ever get slimmed down on my body for these competitions was my belly. And then when I knew that, then I started understanding. I took it in my diet. Then I saw like, wow, like no wonder I could never eat my food. No wonder I always felt bloated. No wonder like all these things happen. But it's slowing down and figuring out these little things that your body's talking to you that is going to help you understand what you need to do. This little voice that we tend to ignore, it does have a strong voice when you start hearing it, for sure. And so, but again, it takes time. This is not an overnight success. This is years and months of taking time and figuring out what works for you. And the only diet that works is one that's sustainable. It's one that you enjoy. It's one that doesn't cancel out food restrictions. And again, I want to just add this into there because I was supposed to be on a podcast, and I ended up not being on a podcast because and there's a lot more to it, but me and this person didn't align in the end, even though I thought it was a great conversation. But the word diet is a trigger word for a lot of people. And that's why I have my book as like finally a diet that works for me is like literally I found food, because diet means food. It does not mean calorie restriction. It literally means foods that, prepare a sustainable body that gives you energy. Like that's what diet means. And so diet does not mean sorry about that one. Diet does not mean calorie restriction. Diet means literally I'm eating food to survive, to eat for life and whatnot. So the only diet that works is one that works for you.
Yeah. So, for example, I have a sweet tooth. So I have to figure out how to get that reward, if you know what I mean, but without being on the bad side of it, like the processed food. So no cookies, no chocolate or whatever it is. So, you have to kind of know yourself. I know myself that if somebody brings home the 6-pack of cookies, I'm the one that eats 5 and the other person eats 1. So the only way I can do that is not have them in my house, because I know I'm really bad for that. So if I buy lots of fruit and, dates and mandarins and apples and things like that, I can satisfy my sweet tooth without going for the bad processed foods. And then if I have a sweet tooth, instead of going and buying the processed stuff, I would make my own so that at least I know what's going into it. Like I put dates in and oatmeal and butter, and you can see all the things that are going into it rather than all the stuff on the labels that are preservatives or additives and all that kind of stuff.
Of course, like it's nice to know where your food comes from. So I definitely agree with the making it and whatnot. Definitely, it's much more satisfying. It's much more satisfying because you have control of what you're putting into your body. But I definitely do believe in the 80-20 rule. And basically, if you I think it's nice sometimes if you're having a sweet tooth to cave in and stuff like that, but it's like, what have I done to help myself during this week? Have I gotten out for walks this week? Have I been more sedentary? Has there been more energy in than out, or out than in? Like checking in is super important. So it's all about body awareness and knowing exactly that. Did I do what it takes to have this? And again, sometimes our control, food cravings get the best of us, but then it's like checking in, am I stressed? Am I coming up to my monthly friend? You know what I mean? Checking in with those avenues, because seeing where it comes from and how often and when and why is going to help you to face what you need to do to help yourself through this. And again, sometimes that's why it's nice to have someone beside you helping you through this, so you're not in your head as much. But also it's the work that you need to do if this is something that's super important to you and you want to do it alone, these are the questions you need to constantly ask. And yes, it feels like you're in your head more than half the time. Yes, it's normal for sure to be frustrated and stuff like that, but also maybe getting people, not feeling alone in your community. So, reaching out to, if a friend is doing the same thing to you as you, or finding a group on social media that, really that you believe in just as much as they believe in, and where you guys can come together so you don't feel alone. That's the worst thing you can do when you're doing something like this, is feeling alone. And so I know more than ever that, we are in a time where we feel more alone than not.
Totally.
And so I definitely think helping yourself getting outside the box and figuring out these things of how to make things work and how to change it up, and, utilizing, if financial is a big thing, figuring out for you what could work for you is super important. But doing it alone is definitely not as fun. It's not, and especially if you don't have the support at home to do it, that's another avenue where, like, you have to check in to see, is this sustainable for me to even do? Do I have like the support that I need to work with my goals? Is my husband going to eat a bag of chips in front of me as I'm, because that does tend to happen. Like I'm wanting to put up my hand here where, like, my husband's a great supporter, but he's definitely one that will do that too, right? And so it's like sometimes I need to leave the room. Like, that's what I will need to do to not be around it. I will find something to keep myself busy, or I will eat something alternative, like where it's not exactly a bag of chips. It's something that will keep me satisfied, where it's like, homemade popcorn, or apples and peanut butter. It's something, or rice cakes, or something, you know what I mean, to make it where you want to do something. But those are the things you're going to have to face. We all face them. And if you guys have any questions, like, I'm always here to help you through it too.
So how do you help your clients make health a priority? Because that's really important, especially during this particular time. As you mentioned, like, there's a lot of stress and pressure, and that means that sometimes that you're not making your health a priority.
Totally. And for me, it's about starting small. I'm one to, like, I've been given the plans of what you need to do when it comes to fitness and dieting, especially for competitions. And so I understand, like, being given a whole plan at once. And, I'm not the regular type of person. I will definitely do it, and I would follow it, because that's how much I was committed to it. But not everyone has that same commitment rule, because they have different priorities, and as they should. Everyone's so different and unique, and that's why it's so special. So for me, what I tend to do is I build foundation. So if you're, if that's why I do the big assessment. If I need to be exactly where you're at, I need to know what motivates you and demotivates you. I need to know, who your support team is. I need to know these things, because it's like, these are success blocks that, these are success risers that help you. But if you're being blocked and you're enrolling at the foundation, then we're not going to build that skyscraper together. So it's starting really small by giving, one habit at a time, checking in with their schedule. How are they making time for themselves? Are they moving their bodies? It starts super small. So a lot of the time, like, it's basically, it's very simple of how we start off, because it's about building that confidence as you do it, so that you can see, like, I can do this, because confidence is what's going to help you to continue to do this. If you're not feeling motivated and feeling like you're second guessing yourself a lot, then we're blocked before we even get to that, that first month of success together. So it's basically making their health a priority. It's basically setting up, small little goals, seeing what their habits are, switching them out, getting them to move their body, whatever their schedule can handle is where I'm going to meet them. I meet them where they're at, and everyone's so different.
So if you get started, how do you help the people who are really struggling to commit? Like, you might have got to the first stage, but they still might have trouble committing to the whole process. So how do you help them?
So that's a big, there's two great things in there that, like you spoke of. It's like, how do I help them, and how do I help them, if they're struggling to commit? That's one. And if they're, don't even exactly know, like, what their commitment looks like, is pretty much how I understood that. Is, so I love using the analogy, are you interested or are you committed? So basically there's two different, they're two different words. They're two different interpretations. Like, interested is just like someone like, yeah, I saw the show on TV. I'm pretty interested in watching that show. Or I saw that food, like that new, like, cauliflower wrap that's out. I'm pretty interested in trying it. So, like, it's like something that tickles their fancy, but it's like, oh, but when I get there, I'll get there. Like I'm not really, like, I'm not really pushed to do that. But commitment is something like where it's like a different driver is showing up, a different person is showing up. Like they really want this for themselves. So I help, like that's one way to help my client differentiate, what they really want is, because communication is such a big one. When you're working with a trainer or a coach, communication is what makes the world go round, and you need to be on the same page always. And you want to make sure that we are on the same page, that like you're working with someone that you truly admire and that you're going to be pushed, but it's in a good challenging way, as opposed to being like annoyed and being like, oh, my trainer is like wanting me to do this. Like, you know what I mean? We've had that. Yeah. We've had that, right? Mm-hmm. So that is a normal feeling. So this is what's going to help you to, if they're struggling to commit, they don't want to disappoint you. They want to make sure that, they're showing up for themselves, but they're showing up because they don't want to disappoint you. Like that's the person that you want working with you, because again, this is a different person that's showing up. This is a different feeling that's showing up in themselves, where you want someone that admires you and like really connects with your beliefs and values and core values. Like that's a huge one. And then the second thing is like, look at like, I want people to understand that from 1 to 100, like look at that scale, like you have right in front of you. It goes from 1, there's a line that goes all the way to 100. Okay. Basically 100 is a bodybuilder. Okay. 1 is like, you're like basically a couch potato. Like, let's look at it that way. 1 is a couch potato. 100 is a bodybuilder, where you have to work out 6 to 7 days a week. You have to eat 120%. You have to do like your posing. You have to like, you're doing everything at like an athletic level. And so I think when you look at it that way, where it's like, if you're wanting just to be, lose about 15 to 20 pounds and release. I know that there's a lot of word connotations where, you don't want the weight to come back, so you say release. But basically, for the sake of what I'm just trying to say is like, when you're wanting just to like lose a few pounds, you're wanting to eat a lot healthier, you're wanting to drink a lot more water, you're wanting to have a lot more energy, you're wanting to, feel like you could fit in those beautiful like jeans that you did pre-pregnancy, there's like, it doesn't have to be 100%. I hope that people can see that, where they can feel like they can breathe, that there's room for error, that you're just basically wanting to learn. That takes a little bit of like that, I can breathe out, It's like, I want that to be more of the priority when someone's looking at themselves and looking at what transformation change really takes. Because, for myself, I went from, working out with a personal trainer to competing to doing it for a few years to 2016, burning out, basically giving up on everything because I was so tired working the 4 jobs. And then for the past 4 years, literally trying to figure out, what is it that I want? How do I want to show up every single day? How do I want to feel? And in the past 4 years, I've taken everything I've learned in the past 10 years in total, but of like, what did I like and what did I not like? And then basically have just like alternated to making something work for me. And I think that's what I hope that you get from this podcast in the end, is basically like, looking at your life, looking at like what you've enjoyed, what you haven't enjoyed, why you haven't enjoyed, why you did enjoy it, and find that balance of like what 1 to 100 is like, and then looking into there, like, what do you want your nutrition to look like? How often, like, we know that we need to eat like healthy 80% of the time, 70%, you know what I mean? Finding that 70, 80% of the time. We know we need to drink water. We know we need to do all these things. And the thing is like, we know we need to do it, but why aren't we doing it? And we need to bridge that gap as to why we're not doing it. And like, the thing is, some of the times it's just like, you're late. And again, this is like just using like, you're tired. You've had a long day. You feel like there's no time. And like, so we tend to run ourselves down even more because again, it's hard to show up for ourselves. And so accountability is definitely something that's helped me. And it's definitely something that will help client understand like why they're getting in their own way. And sometimes it's that outside resource that could be that bridge that gap to like, feel
so
it,
you're not alone. Yeah. You're not trying to figure it out all on your own.
Exactly. Because it's a lot of weight to carry.
Yes. So thank you so much for being such a great guest, Amanda. I think you have something that our listeners would really enjoy. You've got an offer on your boot camp, right?
Yes. So January, I'm starting up a new 8-week series that comes with 8 mini challenges. So it's kind of the building blocks that I was just talking about today on the podcast, moving your body, making time for you. Oh my goodness, like water, meal prep, eating slow. What does 80% look like? So there's many challenges that happen in between there. And it's a great way to get started to learning ways of getting out of your own way. And we start in mid-January as our next 8-week series.
So anybody that signs up for the boot camp gets a free copy of your brand new book, right?
Yes, that they do. Yes, they do. So if this is something you really want and you want to definitely, and then my book gives you a lot of the tools that we just talked about today on the show and in our boot camp, this is a great way to get started on your life school transformation.
So to get the free copy of the book for the boot, after they've signed up for the boot camp, what do they do? Do they just send you an email and mention the podcast?
Yes, say I've listened to you on the Fempreneur podcast and let me know. Yeah, and my email is amanda@reloveandrise.com. That's the best way to do it right now because the book is just going to be in print this month and it will be coming out next month. So yeah, it's better to email me to get right from me right now.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So the offer for those listeners that maybe didn't catch Amanda's email will be in the blog posts on our website, fabfempreneurship.com. And I'm looking forward to having people sign up for the boot camp because I think it's a great way to get started on changing your whole body image and, just learning a different lifestyle for yourself that is healthy, both mentally and physically. I think it's very important during this COVID pandemic. We're going into the winter here in Canada and it's not an easy time if we get locked down again. So this might be something that could really help you.
I agree. Thank you so much, Elaine, for having me on your podcast.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you.
To receive your free gift and connect directly with the podcast guest, visit our website at fabfempreneurship.com/entrepreneur mastermind podcasts and click on this episode. Here's to building your business growth, one step at a time. If you enjoyed this podcast, why not tune into other episodes in this series at fabfempreneurship.com/entrepreneur mastermind podcasts.